your thoughts on the field that's coming here?
Well, obviously, it's first off, it's great to be playing at Baum. Been on the road for 10, 11 days. I think the guys are excited about getting back and playing in front of their crowds and sleeping in their own beds. But the field's good. It's always good. We don't know a whole lot about Central Connecticut. Trying to find out about them as much as we can, and then you got Cal and TCU, who have always been good in baseball, and TCU's been to the World Series. I think they went on a roll a few years back, or they went 4 or 5 years in a row. So it's going to be a great regional.
Hey, this is the first time that Hartsville's ever hosted 3 straight regionals. The first time we've ever been a top 8 seed in back-to-back years. What have you thought about this run that the program's been on the last few years?
Just that, we played pretty steady baseball. Last year's team was older. We felt like we were a good team. This year's team, kind of had to make their own identity, I guess. They make a name for themselves. They were kind of in the shadow of last year's team, and I think a lot of people thought it was going to be a pretty average year for us. And, with 6 new starters in the field and new conference starters, and really the only thing that's kind of the same is our bullpen. Other than that, it's a different team, and so just it's great that we've had a good year and won enough games against some really good teams that has allowed us to keep our our RPI up there in the rankings and stick around the top of the league, which always is one of the best leagues in the country. Our division, the Western Division, top to bottom, might be the best nationally. So it was a battle because we have to play every one of those teams. The Eastern Division has really good teams, but we have to play all of them. So just proud of the team. Program's in good shape, and hopefully we'll do well this week.
Pitching rotation, you tempted to wait and put Campbell in later on the
Yeah, we'll look at that. We're trying to get as much information, on Central Connecticut as we can to find out, are they a right-handed hitting team, left, switch, just try to find out about their starting pitching. Obviously, we've already peeked at their statistics as far as, batting average and home runs and that stuff offensively, but we need to dig into it a little bit more, and then we'll probably make a decision on that by tomorrow.
As far as Central Connecticut, they're in the same league as Bryant, and I know you guys lost to Bryant a few years ago. Is that something you kind of tell the guys about, or what does that say about, these 4 seeds can rise up and beat big schools too,
Well, 4 seeds, they're dangerous. They come in, with nothing to lose, probably no pressure on them, happy getting the opportunity to play in a regional. Our job as coaches is to make sure our team shows up and takes care of business, plays well. If you lose, you lose because, they just played great. A lot of times these teams will have a really good arm or a superstar player. You got to make sure that, you're educated on that as much as you can. But we really don't harp on the other team and really talk about the other team as far as all of what they have. We're definitely going to point it out to them, but it's really more about what we need to do as a team. That's kind of been, our motto all year. If we play well, if we do what we do well, we got a chance to beat anybody, and I think we'll keep that going.
Just the fact that the UALR and Northwestern State, those games, if you almost help them as far as knowing that.
Yeah. You can always go back to those if you need to and say it doesn't matter if from a Power 5 conference or a mid-major. If you don't play well, you'll lose, and you just have to show up and be ready to go. I would think that, when you get to this time of the year, no midweek game, a couple 3 practices, I shouldn't have to motivate anybody to be out here Friday at 1 o'clock to play, and I'll guarantee you won't.
You need to make that decision about what time you play when you're the host team.
I was asked that question about from our administration, if we had the opportunity to host a regional, would you want to play the first game or the second game? And my answer was the same that it is every year. Just like last year, I'd like to play the first game. And the reason being, weather can really put a spin on the whole tournament. If the first game gets in, the second game gets rain, delayed, goes into the night, we have to play the next day, play a couple of games. It can get a little bit rough, and then just the fact of sitting around all day. So the weather's supposed to be beautiful Friday. I saw it's supposed to be right around 80 degrees, which would be perfect. Should be great for the fans.
Yeah, do you feel that even on a weekday that you won't have any trouble filling this place up?
Well, I wouldn't think so. We've done pretty well for 10 years, really. So it's, I think we'll have a good crowd, and they'll be loud, and it should be a great atmosphere.
There's
a
a few.
lot of people calling in sick.
Now you've had-
There's a few really good home run hitting teams in this field, and the postseason last 2 years, the balls really seem to fly out of here. I mean, what do you think about that, and maybe what do you think that is this time of year that it seems to be?
Well, you know, the hitters are usually got it going a little bit. If you get a chance to rest and get them strong again, you know, it adds up. Sometimes pitchers are a little bit tired, but you never know. You know, they'll usually give you a good inning. Maybe they can't go as long as normal. You know, this ballpark, it has to do a lot of times with the wind, and you know, when the wind's out of the straight south, it's tough to hit it out of here, especially to right. But if you get a southwest or a west or northwest wind, even a north, the ball can be really jumpy here.
As far as the hitters, kind of looked at what the problem's been the last couple of weeks.
I think they're a little tired, to be honest with you. I just felt like that our swings were maybe just a little bit slower than normal, a little fatigue, and I think, you know, I'm hoping that we can talk about it in a week, that, you know, that, and we're still playing, that, you know, we just needed to rest a little bit.
Casey said he thought guys might be pressing, you know,
Yeah.
trying to do a little too much.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. You got guys that, you know, just they want to win, and sometimes you got to relax a little bit and take a step back and take a deep breath and just say, hey, it's just baseball. Been having success all year. Don't push the panic button, and you know, we're fine. We're just glad that guys are healthy. Now we just need to get them rested, refocused, and get off to a good start this Friday.
What's the practice plan for the week?
Probably practice midday, 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock tomorrow will stretch. Kind of go after that. Probably keep practices fairly short, hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half, and just got to work on things, and tune up a little bit.
Yeah, Trevor East won the All-SEC second team first baseman. He was the All-SEC defensive first baseman. He was saying he'd never played that position before. He's obviously not, you know, big 6'3" first baseman like, you know, maybe you want to have. So what you thought about him getting that honor?
Well, he's a good defender. You know, he was a second baseman that had some shoulder issues with surgery last summer, and it didn't bounce back as quick as we thought it would. And so I really wanted him in the field because I knew he could really field. And bottom line, he didn't have to throw the ball a whole lot from first base. The beginning of the year was all about catching it and fielding it and flipping it to pitchers. And yeah, you have to make a throw or two every now and then on a pickoff or a double play ball, but he managed to get through that. But he could field, and he's got baseball IQ, common sense, and you know, we threw him over there, and he learned the footwork, and he's just done a tremendous job.
And the fact he's not the biggest target, I mean, that doesn't seem to have mattered.
No, I mean, you know, the only time that comes into play, obviously, on high throws, and it'd be nice to have a guy that's 6'4" over there. And take it a step farther, you'd like to have a left-handed throwing first baseman, but we haven't had one of those here forever. So it's about making the plays and you know, just being consistent. And I think he was as good as anybody in the league.
And as far as how he's been as a leadoff hitter, you know, getting on a lot of walks, hits, what would you thought?
Yeah, he's been a tough leadoff hitter. You know, when he's going good, he's seeing pitches and fouling off pitches, taking his walks, and he's been a really good leadoff man for us second half of this season.
You got a couple of TCU transfers in your program. Does that help at all whenever you might be preparing for a team like that?
I don't know. You know, I'd say, you know, Plunkett, he hasn't been there for 3 years, and you know, Kobe Boulware is just came in at semester, and he'll be eligible to play next year. And you know, he's not with us right now, so I would say no. I don't think it has anything to do with it.
We were watching, you know, TV up there just like you guys were down here, and you know, they show that montage, you know, the pop-up and Oregon State beating you guys and all that. I mean, how'd that make y'all feel?
Well, I know how it made me feel. You know, it's like, we got to watch this. But you know, it's part of it's part of what went on in Omaha last year. It's part of the history, and you know, if we'd hit a walk-off homer, they'd be showing that, or if we'd have made the catch, they'd be showing that. So, you know, it's old news in my opinion. This is a new year.
Does it feel you guys fire a little bit? Do you feel like it was motivating to the guys?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
Well, they all said it was.
Then why'd you ask me that question?
I want to get your take. Does it motivate you? Right, you don't need it.
I
But
don't need any motivation. I mean, I put that to bed a long time ago. It's, you know, once this season started, it helps get rid of some of the past, and But you learn from the past, and that's how you get better. And I think maybe being in Omaha and not winning last year has really helped our younger players. Like I said earlier, try to establish their legacy here, and what people are going to remember about the 19 team and the 20 team and down the road. So it is what it is.
Are you familiar at all with the other coaches in this regional field?
Oh yeah. I mean, I know Coach Schlossnagle from TCU pretty well, and Cal. I was real good friends with Dave Esker, the head coach at Cal, but now he's at Stanford, and they have a new coach when they're doing a great job. But I don't know, Central Connecticut's coach at all, and but I'll definitely try to do some research, and I respect everybody. I mean, coaching at this level, it's a tough job.
The last couple of years have been really true regional teams. This year, there's a couple coming in from far away. Any thoughts on that? Maybe why that is? Or is
It's just kind of interesting the way they set them up. I mean, I'm not in that room. I don't know how they do it. Usually we would have maybe somebody from this region. I think if Oral Roberts would have been there, or Oklahoma State wouldn't have been, finished so strong where they are hosting, we'd have got one of those. Or if we hadn't finished strong, we'd go to theirs. So. You just never know how they're moving those pieces around in there.
I know 6 SEC teams are hosting regional. I don't know if did you guys get 9 or 10 teams then?
I'm thinking we got 10.
Yeah.
But
What do you think? I mean, I'm not a big shock, but what do you think about 6 teams hosting regionals and getting the majority of the league in the field?
Well, the league's good. I mean, I've made the comment all year. As far as age, the league's older. The depth of the league, especially in the Western Division, is incredible. And, you take maybe, and Alabama was better this year, but the 6 teams above them, I think they all made regionals. So is that right? Does anybody know? So then there's 3 from the other side, I guess. Florida, Tennessee, maybe more.
Vanderbilt.
Vandy. So I mean, that should tell you right there that the league is just extremely good, and doesn't surprise me a bit that our teams are hosting. RPIs are high. They've done great out of league, non-conference games. And when you look at Florida, that finished 2 or 3 or 4 games under 500 in SEC play, they beat everybody in non-conference play. Florida State, 3 out of 4 or maybe more, and teams that are in regionals, and they pretty much got after them.
You've had some years where you've been sent to Oklahoma, some years where you've gone to California, Arizona. I wonder, in your experience, what's it like, the contrast between going far away and being sent close?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it was easier when we went to Stillwater or OU, because we won those 2 regionals, come to think of it. When I say easier, it's because you're on a bus. You have to fly, and back then, a lot of times, you're taking, you're running over to the major airport instead of taking maybe a charter plane. And sometimes they'll let you charter if they can't get you there, but they're trying to save a little bit of money. So the travel can take it out of you. So obviously, I think it's a lot easier on us physically and mentally, probably, if you're staying in the region. But I think once you get to where you're at, it's all about how you feel, get off to a good start. It's all about baseball.
You don't want to look ahead, but putting you with potentially Ole Miss and even Georgia beyond that, I mean, is that almost an advantage to teams knowing each other so well?
Yeah, you're way ahead of me. I haven't looked that far down the road. I mean, I'm just going to try to get through Friday in this regional. From what I saw pop up, it seems like, if the number 1 or the host wins, you're going to have a lot of leagues matching up against each other in super regionals, and I'm sure that wasn't by chance.
How do you feel about being the number 5 overall seed? You feel like that was about right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel great about it. I mean, especially when you lose, some games down the stretch, it didn't help us at all, but they kept us there, and I don't know. We have a good RPI, still pretty good. We finished high in our division in the West, won the West. Shared it with Mississippi State, but then Mississippi State, we beat them 3 times, and they look at all that stuff, and just compliment to our team hanging in there all year and playing well, really from the beginning to the end. Really not going into any major slumps. We lost some weekend series and lost some close games down the stretch, but really didn't get blown out, and very consistent.
Isaiah was saying he thought Matt Hobbs was about the best hire you could have made to replace Wes. Now that you've gone through a full season, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think Matt's done a great job here. You know, you put yourself in his shoes, coming into a program that finished second in the country last year, the fan base, expectation, the league, following a pitching coach that goes to the big leagues. I mean, it probably couldn't have been a whole lot more pressure than that. And I think he's handled it really well. Just came in and worked, kept his head down, got to know the players, tried to learn the players, learn their personalities. Obviously, had to try to learn about their skills on the field and what they were good at and what they weren't good at. I mean, there's a lot there, and I think he's done a great job, and look forward to coaching with him down the road going forward.
Well, what do you think's the best thing he's brought to the table for you guys?
Just the fact that he had a calm demeanor about himself and the way he handled it when he got here. He didn't come in and just try to change everybody, and he let them pitch and show them what he could do, and just didn't disrupt maybe each pitcher individually. He just tried to help them, and I knew he was a good pitching coach, or I wouldn't have gone after him. Everybody that I talked with said he was a good pitching coach. He was just, you don't know what you're getting, as far as personality a lot of times, or how you're going to treat the players, which I think he's done a great job treating them with respect and giving them their space at the same time.
You guys have been so good at home, well, usually every year, but the last 2 years especially. How good do you feel? I mean, how good is it to be home, especially when you've been on the road for a while?
Well, I think that's one thing that has really maybe taken it to another level the last few years. The SEC has sent us on the road that last series because of when our finals fall, and being away for 10 or 11 straight nights, and then getting a chance to come back, not having to pack up and fly out or take a bus and go play somewhere else in a regional has been good for us, and I'm hoping that we'll play well this weekend.
A lot of teams are high seeds and lose their regionals at home. Traditionally Arkansas is actually 3-4, which might surprise people, but you guys obviously won last year. I mean, how big an advantage is it, and do people maybe make a mistake assuming if you're at home you're going to win?
I don't think it's a huge advantage. It's an advantage because of the travel, and not having to travel, and maybe for some of the first game it's an advantage too. You really get to know the facilities and everything. You do get a practice the day before, which you learn a little bit about it, but it's more just about being comfortable. When you get on the field, there's not a major advantage, and if you look at some of the games over the years, they're extremely close. 1-run games, 2-run games, and anything can happen, and everybody's good at this time of year, and it's really about who's hot, who's pitching well, who's hitting well, and sometimes it's just about matchups. You don't match up well against that team. You got too many left-handed hitters and they got left-handed pitchers. Or you got too many right-handed hitters and they got great righties with good sliders. And so a lot of times it just comes down to matchups.
Actually, I had a couple more